A very good evening to you all. My name is Olive Nete. Welcome to the English News Bulletin. We'll start by this story that says that while donuts and bread are typically made from wheat, and an industry in Gatsibo District, Eastern Province, is taking a different approach by producing these popular foods from pumpkins. The industry processes around 5 tons of pumpkins each month. Prince Manzi kicks us off tonight.
Usually, producing donuts and bread, there's need of wheat, and the rest are optional, like ingredients. Valence Rohorimbere, who founded the Iwachu Bakery that produces bread and donuts from pumpkins, reiterates that he got the idea while still a scholar. I started alone while I was a student in the university, and I later did a research on how I can make productive crops we cultivate in the region. Pumpkins are one of the crops rich in nutrients, and it also helps in digestion, eliminating antioxidants in the body. We found that people do not like to eat cooked pumpkins, so we tried to change another way they can eat them. Pumpkins cultivators also applaud the innovation. These are crops that one cultivates and helps in his development. Because you cultivate, being aware that you have a market, and keep in mind that your produce will not be of no use as it used to be. Rather, I can approach the industry and it helps me out. This innovation was also beneficial in creating jobs and changing lives of some of the youth. No one can develop without a source of income, so this is where I get my land from, my food, clothes, and it is great. It helps me through various things. I pay fees for my children and solve other problems I face at home. Jean-Leonard Sekanyange, the Vice Mayor of Gatsibo District in charge of economic development, affirms that the government will continue to support such innovations, providing solutions in various sectors. For youth, graduating, not running across the country applying for jobs, rather creating and innovating, it is great. Our role as local authorities is to support them in accessing various equips and in addition informing our farmers that they have a steady market. This micro-industry has 8 permanent workers and provides daily wages. It uses over 5 tons of pumpkins monthly, which can also increase amidst enough equips.
Thank you, Prince Manzi, for the details. Now, to other matters, some of the youth in Africa reiterate that implementing some of the ideas suggested by President Paul Kagame on the development of Africa can help the continent develop. These were said in the interactions organized by the Pan-African Organization for Peace and Conflict Resolution that convened various youths from 7 universities in Rwanda. The president of the Pan-African Organization for Peace and Conflict Resolution, Dr. Abdoulaye Falati, elaborates on how African values can help the African young people develop.
Rwanda, everyone knows Rwanda through the best president of Rwanda, Excellency Paul Kagame, is the model, is our model leaders for us and for all the African youth. That's why the OPPRC has nominated the president of Rwanda, le président de la jeunesse africaine, because he's all the time he put his hand on the youth and tell them, please be initiative, be creative. That's why we came to Rwanda. We're going to aspire from his model, and then we're going to spread across Africa. Let's be together. Let's work in as the one team. Let's change the image and the vision of the new generation for 2024. Because those generations, they're counting on us. Let's be strong, rebuild new nation for our continent Africa, because we are rich, we are the youngest generation, we are so clever, we are so intelligent. Why we not bring the new system for the new generation of Africa? And then we can follow our leaders, such as the Paul Kagame. Is the best president. They have very good initiative for reconciliation, for development, for youth. Let's be together one hand with the government of Rwanda. Let's follow their steps and let's bring African unity, one Africa, one nation, one development for everyone.
It's been 5 years since the establishment of the Pan-African Organization for Peace and Conflicts Resolution, and it operates in 12 African countries. Now, moving ahead, the Red Cross in Rwanda has highlighted that many lives are lost due to the lack of timely first aid. To help prevent accidental deaths, they emphasize the importance of equipping everyone with basic first aid knowledge. And this message was reiterated on Saturday during the celebration of World First Aid Day. Inora Gladys with more.
First aid is one of the necessary assistance for a person who had an accident or a sudden illness, so that he does not lose his life or get worse before getting to a doctor. It is offered in two parts, including the work by anyone with knowledge and the other high level as described by the staff of the Red Cross.
We've had a band, scissors, plasters, and ointment, like when someone got a fracture, so you can use it to help him. There's also a cure for injuries that is in here. He might have been injured, because in first aid, we teach a person to use it like when it's simple injury to use it, which can prevent to have infections. Like when there is a football match or even different sort of ceremonies. An ambulance is used to protect people's lives from being harmed or even getting in a critical condition. When there is an accident in a football pitch, we first remove the player from the pitch and help him with the first aid. If it is an injury, we first stop it. When it is like a broken bone, there are specific tools we use on every body part that got damaged. And also, in carrying him, we use a stretcher.
Urugingo rwaba rwagize ikibazo kandi mu kumuterura dushobora gukoresha igikoresho cyitwa blandire mu rurimi rw'igifaransa cyangwa se brancard isanzwe tumuvana aho ngaho tumugeza.
Some of the volunteers who have been trained in giving first aid say that it brought change in their lives and in their communities.
Or watch what is happening, which would even lead to a permanent disability or even death to that person. But after learning first aid, accidents can happen and I can help the victims of the accidents because I have first aid knowledge, or even to seek help for injured people.
The Red Cross organization in Rwanda finds it important that everyone should have the knowledge to provide first aid in order to prevent people from dying because they did not receive first aid.
The role it can play is that when a person is injured and gets people to help him, that time his life is saved and return back to normal life and be able to work and also contribute to the country's development. The well-being for families, the youth specifically, that builds the country very fast. That time the country will be having people with good life, both physically and mentally. All of that contributes to the country's development.
Red Cross in Rwanda so far has trained over 68,000 volunteers across the country in terms of providing first aid various categories including sports, firefighting in moments of disasters, epidemics and water. But also this number should be increased so that basic first aid knowledge reaches as many people as possible. Enora Gladys, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Enora, for the details. Now, let's move on with health matters. In today's health segment, we will dive into a critical topic that affects both mothers and unborn babies, which is called fetal distress. Dr. Byiringiro Jean-Paul from King Faisal Hospital will guide us in understanding the causes, symptoms, and management of this condition, as well as the steps that can be taken to ensure the well-being of both the mother and the baby during labor and delivery.
Fetal distress is being said when the fetus doesn't receive enough oxygen throughout of the body, and especially this may affect the brain. Fetal distress also can be divided in categories. It can be mild or severe. So we categorize according to category 2 or 3. So when it's category 2, sometimes we tolerate it and we watch. But when it's category 3, then it becomes pathologic to the baby. That's the time we act. So we don't allow the labor to proceed. We just do interventional delivery, which is most likely a cesarean section. So basically, for the people to understand it very well, I would say like that it's said when the fetus doesn't receive enough oxygen, which is secondary most likely to the compression of the umbilical cord. The cord is like intersection between the mother and the baby. So the mother will be feeding the baby, and when there is interference about the blood circulation, you know the blood is the fluid that can take oxygen to the baby, then the baby will not receive enough oxygen. So that's where the baby will start to show us signs throughout of our monitors that the baby started getting distressed. Most likely the baby gets distressed during labor. But there is also what we call chronic fetal distress. That's why I told you it's depending on the cause. For example, late term pregnancy. Let's say the baby, the mother is pregnant 40 weeks and plus. You know, the full-term pregnancy is 40 weeks. But we prolong when we see there is nothing making us to be in a hurry and deliver the baby. So you might be somewhere they don't monitor, they don't do antenatal clinic. The baby goes until 41, 42, then start developing distress because of post-maturity. So in that time, the baby develops what we can call chronic distress because he bypassed already the time to be delivered. So most likely, if you are not in an inadequate area, the baby even can lose life. That's why we advise people always to do the antenatal clinic accordingly and to follow advices from their health providers. But I will say 90% will develop fetal distress during labor. So for example, somebody has been in labor for quite a long time, the baby can be distressed because there is the time that we can't go beyond into labor. Because the labor itself, it's a contractions. Contractions, at any level of contractions, we get a squeeze to the baby and we get a spasm throughout the placenta. And that time always may interfere with the placenta circulation. And that can create distress. And there is a limited time that we can't allow a patient to go beyond during labor. Then we act. That's why I'm saying most likely plus 90 and something % will develop a fetal distress when they are exactly into labor. You might be in labor and the baby, your labor progress quite well, and at a certain time, the cord of the baby, for example, get compressed. Maybe, I don't know if it's the right time to say it, but there is a mechanism of labor. There is the way the labor is conducted, and there is the way the baby is engaging, descent until delivery. Sometimes the cord can come first, or can attach somewhere through, for example, you've heard about cord around the neck. So as the baby goes through that birth canal, the cord might be compressed and interfere with blood circulation, can be approved. And at that time, the baby can develop a distress. Yeah. That's why I'm telling you always when the patient are in labor, especially in a high setting area like ours, they are always on monitors, showing us the well-being of the baby. So, but the baby can be distressed, as I told you, even if the patient is not in labor. For example, in post-maturity pregnancy, the baby can be distressed, and if you are not around to discover it, the baby can even lose life. Fetal distress, if it's not tackled on time, can induce birth asphyxia. So fetal distress means the lack of enough oxygen through the body, I will say, but that may have a very bad impact on the brain. That may cause in other way brain injury. So if really it hasn't been detected on time, and if you haven't acted on time, that's where the brain gets injured. So Birth asphyxia is a complication of those distresses I have told you. When you say the baby had a birth asphyxia, it means already the baby had a brain injury. And when you have a brain injury, when your brain is injured, obviously more complications. We like the baby kickings. Baby kicks, it's a good life. It's a good sign for the good life for the baby. But sometimes the mother will call you, I feel funny movement for my child, too much, excessive. Don't ignore that. Because the baby might be okay or might be in trouble. That's where we call them, please come to the hospital and we see. Because the mother herself can't really acknowledge and confirm that my baby is in trouble. Each and everything depends on monitors and monitoring. So that's where we call them to come. We put our machines, we do our ultrasound. The doctor will play a big role there. I will do ultrasound, see the fetal heartbeat, observe it, if it's regular, irregular, and check the fluid, check the movement of the baby over ultrasound, check the breathing, check the blood circulation, and all of that. Then afterward, I'll put you, there is a machine we have as well. Or we put a fetoscope where they are not having the machines, they do have what we call a fetoscope. So that trace will show you the fetal movement, the baseline of the heartbeat. You see how many times in a minute this heart is beating. You see whether the perfusion, the oxygen is good. We check what we call variabilities. There are all of those categories. Then you say, oh, these are normal movement. You can go home and you come back, for example, within a week. So the signs, symptoms, it's very rare for the mother to recognize because the symptoms should be what the mother will tell you. But most likely they don't know, unless they may query about those heavy movement I have told you, or slow movement. The mother can tell you, my baby doesn't move anymore. Or I feel my baby just once a day. And then you say, yeah, let me see. The baby might not move because there is no fluid, but might not move because also the baby is in trouble.
Still on this topic, Dr. Byiringiro Jean-Paul also sheds light on how proper antenatal care plays a key role in preventing fetal distress, ensuring both the mother and the baby stay healthy throughout pregnancy and delivery.
Well, antenatal care is very, very important. That's why I ask many people to, each and every time you fall pregnant. I like to tell my patient that the first time you miss your period, and because we are civilized now, anyone can check if she's pregnant or not using this urine pregnancy test. You need always to approach your nearest health provider. Make sure you are pregnant, make sure your pregnancy is in the right place, and then get full information about the pregnancy. The first visit is important. You need to get all information about your pregnancy. You need to be taught about risk in pregnancy. I don't know if we will go beyond that, but in the pregnancies we have low risk, moderate, and high risk. You need to be classified in one of three. And then you need to be taught how to follow up. Follow up important. For example, in low risk, you need each and every 4 weeks to go to your gynae or your whoever around that in charge of helping you in antenatal clinic. There are some health centers doing very well, doing antenatal clinic nicely. So you need to go there, the ultrasound to make sure the baby is growing very well, to make sure the amniotic fluid is adequate, to make sure the baby doesn't have any anomalies, because we can have birth asphyxia because the baby was having some anomalies, So we need to exclude even anomalies. So luckily enough, our country now has got a fetal medicine specialist. So we are no longer having any worry when you are a general gynecologist and you query about anything, you ask a second opinion from a fetal medicine specialist. So those antenatal clinics, they are very important because each and everything that may lead to birth asphyxia might be detected early and get sorted out. So that's why we are advising each and everyone to follow clearly and adequately her antenatal clinic that has been advised by the medical doctor. Our people need to know what is antenatal clinic. Visiting the hospital at a regular time given. That's the first thing to avoid any complications during delivery. Because by 36 weeks, we discuss the mode of delivery. We remind you again about the delivery. So a proper antenatal clinic will lead to avoid from any complication during delivery. So they need to visit the hospital. They need to listen to the doctor's advice and try to follow.
You're still watching RwandaTV News. Now let's take a look at international matters. African countries have been embracing Chinese technology to help spur on the continent's development in numerous arenas, most notably agriculture. One crop that has shown especially promising results is hybrid rice. We have details courtesy of CGTN.
Hybrid rice across the globe is a dream for Mr. Yuan Longping, known as the father of hybrid rice. Now his dream is being realized step by step, especially in Africa, which accounts for more than half of the world's arable land.
There are 52 countries in Africa where rice can be grown, and 42 of them are suitable for cultivating hybrid rice, particularly in Madagascar. For instance, in 2019, we established an African branch of our National Hybrid Rice Engineering Technology Center there, where we will implement our industrial practices, talent teams, variety cultivation technology, and technology promotion.
In Madagascar, the average production volume of hybrid rice can be 2.6-fold than local breed. In addition to the cultivation of rice seeds, which are the so-called chips for crops, Chinese products and practices in agricultural technology can also serve as a good model for farming in Africa.
We in Africa have got the big land. Africa in itself, we are 30 million square kilometers with the equal size of population, 1.4 billion Africans. And if you have perhaps studied and read around, 60% of arable land of the world is in Africa. So I think we can tap into this opportunity of having enough land, arable land, plus technology that we are getting from China to multiply, why not even 10 times our produce, based on the technology that we are getting from here.
Establishing training and exchange mechanisms is also crucial for facilitating the upgrade of farming in Africa.
We have conducted a total of 240 training sessions and have trained over 10,000 technical personnel, with more than 75% of them coming from African countries. On one hand, we bring African trainees to China, and on the other hand, we go abroad to provide training. For example, last year, our Chinese experts went to Benin for training.
Later, this team will dispatch an expert team to Gambia for cooperation with local technicians and farmers. With the aid of technology in seeds, machinery, and more for rice farming, the dream of resting in the shade of hybrid rice without hunger could one day become a reality worldwide. Hou Jing, CGTN, in Changsha, Hunan Province.
And the story brings us to the end of tonight's bulletin. On behalf of the technical and news production team, we sincerely thank you for tuning in to today's broadcast. Have a wonderful and restful weekend.